are active in Canada. They have something like 700 agents on the ground. And that's
sorry to interrupt. What do you mean they're active in Canada?
According to intelligence, they have 700 agents on the ground in Canada. They have former IRGC members have moved to Canada and taken the plunder with them so that they can harass the Persian and Jewish populations in our country.
I'm someone who's, happy to see intervention when I think it's good, but I also very, I grew up in the era of Iraq and Afghanistan. We both did, right? I imagine you did too. And those were not things, I think, objectively speaking, that led to positive outcomes that everybody would want. Are you worried that perhaps, President Trump's felt like he's on a roll and he can just keep going, and sometimes he's going to go too far and there will be a lot of drawbacks to the policies he's pursuing?
Look, it's easier to predict the past than the future, but I don't see how it could be a bad thing for the world to remove Khomeini and the theocratic dictatorship that dominated Iran.
Isn't that what we said about Gaddafi and Saddam and all these other people? I don't see how it's, and I was like, yeah, they're bad people, but what comes after is my question. I don't see what comes after.
Well,
do you?
The difference, there's a couple of differences. One, Iran has not been just sitting back and watching the world go by. Iran was responsible for the attacks of October 7th. It was funding and directing Hamas, Hezbollah, the Yemeni terrorists. Before the Assad regime fell, it was responsible for that. It was actively threatening not just Israel, but the Arab powers in the region, and was developing a nuclear program for the express purpose of targeting Western allies, not just Israel, by the way, which would be bad enough, but the United States of America. It was the single biggest state sponsor of terror in the world. And by the way, they killed over 100 Canadians when they fired a missile at flight PS752, and it was a civilian aircraft. So this is a hostile enemy regime. And so, it's not just that somebody showed up at the UN and made allegations that they had weapons of mass destruction. Everything I've just said is undisputed, by the way, unlike the weapons of mass destruction allegation in Iraq. And then who would govern? Well, I think what they need to do is find a way to get to elections, because I think the people of Iran could choose a government. And I think it will be a very Western-friendly government, because the population there is actually very Western-friendly. The government was completely out of touch with the population. And so they need to get to elections. That's the outcome.
Are we certain about this? I'd love it for it to be true. I honestly don't know. Are we certain that the population is pro-Western?
We have an enormous Iranian expat population in Canada, and they are very pro-Western and against theocracy. So I'm confident that we'd have a better future if it were directed by the Iranian people than by the Ayatollah and the religious theocracy that was running the place before.
And is your sense that this more geopolitically interventionist policy will continue? Is Cuba going to be next? Are we going to see more things like this, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Your wife is nodding over there.
Well, my wife is hoping so. She's from Venezuela, and her family was obviously thrilled to see Maduro go. And this is actually what's so funny, is to watch these woke progressives pulling their hair out in the street, claiming that they're siding with Iranians and Venezuelans by opposing the removal of their dictators. And the people, both the Iranian people and the Venezuelan people, were thrilled to see these dictators ousted. And my wife's family can attest to that.
Oh, look, absolutely. Everyone go on. Everyone who watches the show.
If it's making my wife happy, then it can't be bad.
No, the joke here is Francis says his family is from Venezuela every single show. Yeah. It's the #1 liked comment on our show every time.
Yeah.
Are you Venezuelan?
Yeah. I know I don't look it. Yes.
Oh God, we should have brought my wife on the show then.
Yeah. That being the case, I think we can acknowledge that what happened in Venezuela is very, very different to what is happening in Iran. And what people never really address is that when you get an authoritarian government come into power, as we saw with Venezuela and then before that Iran, what they do is they put in and they establish autocratic methods of control.
Right.
So in Venezuela, you get the colectivos. In Iran, you get the Islamic Republican Guard, numbering, I was reading, about 150,000 people. It's not just as easy as removing the Ayatollah. What do you do with the Republican Guard? They're not going to lay down their arms. This is a very, very serious problem.
You know, the IRGC is the single biggest terrorist organization in the world, and then it has a whole series of spawns that it controls remotely. So you're absolutely right. The IRGC, I believe, will have to be dismantled, and they will have to find, a new way to set up a security apparatus that reflects a hopefully democratically elected government. But you're quite right. The IRGC will be a very big problem. And they need to be destroyed. Frankly, we should have banned them a long time ago in Canada. They are active in Canada. They have something like 700 agents on the ground. And that's
sorry to interrupt. What do you mean they're active in Canada?
According to intelligence, they have 700 agents on the ground in Canada. They have former IRGC members have moved to Canada and taken the plunder with them, so that they can harass the Persian and Jewish populations in our country. Some of the insane anti-Semitic riots and attacks that we saw against synagogues, etc., I believe in Canada were actually instigated by IRGC by inflaming the population and getting people to carry out these terrible rampages in our streets. So this is a terrible organization that is not just a threat to the Iranian people, but is active around the world. And it is hopefully with the ousting of the regime, we can break that organization as well.
Look, I want that, and we all want a free Iran, a democratic Iran. The problem comes when you remove the leader, you still have the IRGC, and you think to yourself, well, how are they going to get rid of it? Because Trump said in his speech that this is a chance for the Iranian people to overthrow the regime. And you think to yourself, what, you want the Iranian people to go out against 150,000 trained military? I mean, that has a potential to be a bloodbath.
Well, it's already a bloodbath. It was a bloodbath before the president and Israel removed the regime. They were slaughtering the population in the street, and they have been doing that now for years. And the population has been rising up and getting crushed over and over again. So I think what he means now is, well, now the regime that was crushing the population has been removed. The population has to come together and secure a democratic government.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this: you can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.